When it comes to stewardship in the Christian life, we really think of this idea of managing the things that God has given us in a way that brings glory and honor to Him. But in some cases, the best way to steward the things that God has trusted us with is really by passing them along when we realize that we're not actually caring for them very well. Well, hello friend, I'm Mary Beth from the At What Cost blog, where we are learning to apply God's truths to our everyday lives. And the best way that our family has discovered to do that is by living a more minimalistic lifestyle. And so today we are talking all about storage and sentimental items as this final week of a Clutter Free January collaboration closes. And let me tell you, it has been so much fun. I know I have gotten a lot of new tools from my toolbox, and I hope that you have as well, whether it has been through kitchens, clothes, any of our paper clutter, and now talking about storage areas. There has just been a tremendous amount of resources available to us and a lot of motivation to get things back under control. So thank you, Dawn from The Minimal Mom, for pulling all of this together. This has just been a great experience. So I had intended this week for storage spaces to finish out the last stronghold of storage spaces in our home, which is our garage. It's awful. But unfortunately, our entire family has been hit by sickness, and so we were not able to actually do any of that decluttering in the garage like I had wanted to. Now, I do have a plan to do that coming up, so be sure that you subscribe so that you don't miss out on those things. But as I was thinking about our storage spaces and sentimental items, this idea of stewardship came up from one of our viewers. And initially, at first glance, I thought, oh, that kind of stings a little. The last thing that I want to do is encourage people to get rid of things and waste any of the things that God has given us. That doesn't feel like very good stewardship. But the more I've thought about this, there actually is a lot of stewardship in the Christian life. In fact, one of the pivotal things that led our family into minimalism was a book, Money, Possessions, and Eternity by Randy Alcorn. And listen to what he says about stewardship and the Christian life. Stewardship isn't a subcategory of the Christian life. Stewardship is the Christian life. After all, what is stewardship except that God has entrusted to us life, time, talents, money, possessions, family, and His grace. In each case, He evaluates how we regard what He has entrusted to us and what we do with it. When it comes to my decluttering journey specifically, I think at least 90% of the items that we decluttered in our home came either out of storage units or spaces, which we're going to talk about a little bit later on in the video, or sentimental items. It seemed that everywhere I turned, there were things that I had been storing for a while or that just had some emotional meaning to us. And as I worked through those different areas in our home, and unfortunately outside of our home too, I came to realize a few things that I want to talk about today as kind of some pearls of wisdom when it comes to stewardship and storage and sentimental items. So my first pearl of wisdom is that you don't need more storage space. I mean, maybe you do. Chances are pretty good though, because you're in this playlist or you have found my channel, that you follow a lot of other people that think life is better with a lot less stuff. But when it comes to storage spaces, I can't tell you how many times myself I said, if I just had more closet space, if I had a better storage system, if I could just find a different way to store these things, it would make life so much easier. And let me tell you, on the other side of doubling our square footage, like literally doubling our square footage, and the number of closets we had in our home, 2 storage units, and now a lifestyle of minimalism over the last year and a half, you don't need more storage spaces. I didn't either. Aside from cabinets that had small openings and were kind of awkward, most of the issue that we had was not in having room to store things, it was just in simply having too much. As a Christian, I felt like I needed to honor the people in my life. I needed to enjoy the things that God had blessed us with. And ultimately, it just ended up being a poor excuse to hang on to things. Stewardship of the things that we have in life and keeping them are just not the same thing. Which leads me to my second pearl of wisdom. Hanging on to things is not good stewardship of our overconsumption. Should I have not brought that extra home decor into my house to begin with? Yeah, I shouldn't have done that. Did I? Yeah, I did. Do I have to deal with it now? Yeah, we do. And at first glance, it may feel like we are wasting money by getting rid of things that we spent money on. But ultimately, there is a cost, a much larger cost to hanging on to things that we don't necessarily need or even want, and certainly that we don't have space for. So we hang on to these things feeling like if we hang on to them that we're not wasting the money that we spent on them, but ultimately they're sitting in a storage container or maybe just like on a shelf under the bed, somewhere where we're not actually allowing that thing to live out its purpose. And we're actually doing the opposite of stewarding those things. We are in fact wasting them when we hang on to things unnecessarily that we don't actually need or want. We may actually be a better steward of the blessings that we've had when we pass them along to someone else who may actually need them. It certainly feels like we are better serving the Lord when we don't have things piled up and forgotten about, or we've had to purchase things twice or maybe even 3 times over because we forgot what we had tucked away in the back of that closet or under a bed or any of the other places that we happen to store those things. Now, like I mentioned, the book Money, Possessions, and Eternity was one of the things that was very pivotal in changing our lifestyle to be a more minimalistic lifestyle. But it wasn't the only thing. There were a lot of other things that came around, especially the story that we find in Luke 9, where all of the people are gathering. Jesus is performing miracles. He is gathering up a following, and people are left and right choosing to follow Christ. And when it comes to stuff and the way that things are handled in that time, when people are just leaving all that they have and following Jesus, I don't see anything in there that I think I would find comfort in, like Jesus saying, just take a few pictures of just your favorite things, gather them up, and you can take that with you and we can reminisce on those things as we go. That's the exact opposite of what Jesus actually tells people, especially when we get to the end of chapter 9 and we see a man say, "But let me go bury my father first." And Jesus says to him, "Let the dead bury their own dead." He doesn't even want for the man to take that time to have the funeral, because for Jesus, the mission really is about honoring God and bringing about the kingdom. Everything else that happens in this lifetime, all of our material possessions, they're all temporary in comparison with the eternal timeline of our lives. Bella. Bella, you're being loud. The snoring dog, y'all. So even though we may hear this story and we may see these words of Jesus and feel like it's a little harsh, That really is our command, and it's the way that God wants for us to relate to our more material things, that there would be nothing that stands in the way of us spreading the gospel and furthering the kingdom. So how do we balance a life of feeling like we can't be attached to anything and all we can have is the shirt on our back so that we are ready to go at a moment's notice, and all of the things that we do find important, like grandma's china or our high school yearbooks? I don't believe that in general, God doesn't want for us to have things that we should just give everything up and live like we have just everything that we can carry and that's it. I don't believe that God wants for us to live that way. I think He does want for us to enjoy the things that we have so that we can really steward all of the spiritual gifts, the financial gifts, the blessings that He's given us, the lives to take care of, and really just demonstrate what it feels like to be in the family of God. But we have to be sober-minded about the things that we keep. If we have a gifting of hospitality and God wants for us to be opening our homes in a way that is responsible and socially distanced according to whatever rules and regulations are in your particular county, state, province, whatever. But if God wants for us to open our homes and fellowship, or even just extend hospitality in that way, if we are shuffling totes every time someone comes over and we feel reluctant to let people into our homes or into our lives in general because we have so much stuff to keep up with, then we're not really stewarding that gift of hospitality, hanging on to all of these things in an attempt to not waste money. And certainly when it comes to financial gifts, I don't even want to add up the amount of money that we spent on storage units, 2 of them actually, when we moved from our 1,200 square foot home into our new home. We had 2 full 10 by 20 storage units that were just absolutely stuffed to the gills with basically trash, old papers from high school and college, things that had been given to us that we just didn't really care about, and papers that someone was coming over, and so we would sweep everything off at the counters and put it into a box so that we could go through it later. But the later that eventually came was when we cleaned out the storage unit after paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars every month to store basically what I have called time capsules of crap. So when it comes to stewardship, I was not doing a very good job of stewarding my financial resources, paying to store all of this stuff that I didn't actually need. But there are some things that I think are totally fine to hang on to. In fact, God gives us provision for hanging on to some things that were important to Him and to God's people. We see right there in the Old Testament, in the Ark of the Covenant, we had signs and physical possessions that were kept in this most holy of holy places so that God's people could look back and remember His provision for them. There are things that are perfectly fine for us to keep, but we don't want those things to stand in the way of remembering God's provision for us, or even taking time and money away from our worship because we have to care for all of these things. That's not stewardship. That's idolatry. When we put other things ahead of God, when we hold on to things so tightly because we're so worried about what someone is going to think or how things are going to play out, we really lose sight of God's provision for us, His caring, and the way that He is going to make sure that all of the things that we need are absolutely 100% exactly where we need for them to be when we need them. So I want to encourage you as you go through this playlist and open it up and go into that room and start going through some things that you keep in the back of your mind Am I stewarding this gift from God in a way that brings glory to Him, that is letting it live out its purpose? And is this item contributing to using the other gifts that God has given me? There are a lot of great videos in this playlist. I will also link some videos in the description that I have specifically on sentimental items and my 4 guiding principles to dealing with sentimental items just in general. I hope you enjoyed this video today. If you did, be sure to hit the like button and give it a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, I would love for you to hit the button right here. It's that one, the little one with my face on it. And if you want to see more videos on sentimental items, you can click the link right here, and the rest of the playlist is right up here. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you in the next one.